Have you ever known something before anyone told you? Not suspected it? Not imagined it? Known it? Maybe someone's face suddenly appeared in your mind, and a few minutes later that person called. Maybe you walked into a room where everyone was smiling, yet something inside you immediately said, "Be careful." Or perhaps you dreamed about an event so vividly that, when it finally happened, you felt as though you had already lived it. Most people dismiss moments like these. They call them coincidence, anxiety, overthinking, a vivid imagination, and sometimes that is exactly what they are. But what happens when these experiences keep repeating? What happens when the feeling you ignored turns out to be right? What happens when you sense a problem long before anyone else admits that something is wrong? Some spiritual traditions describe this heightened perception as the gift of a seer. Psychology may call parts of it intuition, emotional attunement, subconscious pattern recognition, or heightened sensitivity. Different explanations. But the same unsettling question remains. Are you simply noticing more than most people? Or are you receiving information in a way you have never learned to understand? Today we are exploring 5 signs that may reveal you are far more intuitive and perceptive than you realize. But this is not about predicting lottery numbers or proving that you possess a supernatural ability. It is about understanding why certain images, feelings, dreams, and inner warnings seem to reach you before logic does. And pay close attention to the 5th sign. 'Cause it is not about what you see. It is about what you feel compelled to do afterward. That final sign may reveal whether your sensitivity is merely an interesting experience, or a responsibility that has quietly shaped your entire life. Being highly intuitive does not always look dramatic. You may never see a glowing figure standing at the foot of your bed. You may never hear a mysterious voice predicting the future. You may never experience anything that resembles what movies describe as psychic ability. Real intuition is usually much quieter. It may arrive as a sudden mental image, a subtle change in your body, a dream you cannot forget, a thought that appears without warning, or a feeling that remains even after you have tried to reason it away. The problem is that many sensitive people learn to distrust these experiences. Perhaps you were told that you were too emotional, too suspicious, too intense, too imaginative. Maybe you noticed tension in your family before anyone acknowledged it. You sensed that someone was being dishonest, but you were told you were overreacting. You felt uncomfortable around a person everyone else admired, so you questioned your own judgment. Eventually, you may have learned to silence yourself. You ignored the tightness in your chest. You dismissed the recurring dream. You stayed in a relationship that never felt emotionally safe. You entered situations your body was warning you to avoid. Not because you were weak, because you had been taught that only visible evidence was valid. But human perception does not begin and end with conscious logic. Your brain constantly processes facial expressions, changes in tone, inconsistencies, memories, environmental details, and emotional patterns. Much of that information never reaches your conscious awareness in words. Instead, it may reach you as a feeling, symbol, an image, an urge, or an unexplained certainty. This is one reason intuition can feel supernatural. You receive the conclusion without being shown the calculations. Spiritual traditions offer another possibility. They suggest that human awareness may sometimes perceive meaning, guidance, or connection beyond what can be explained through the 5 physical senses. These 2 perspectives do not always have to fight each other. Psychology can explain how your mind processes subtle information. Spirituality can help you explore why certain experiences feel deeply meaningful. One describes the possible mechanism. The other explores the meaning. But we must also be careful. Not every uncomfortable feeling is intuition. Not every dream is prophetic. Not every coincidence is a sign. And not every fear deserves to be obeyed. Sometimes what feels like intuition is anxiety. Sometimes it is an old emotional wound. Sometimes it is hypervigilance developed from living around unpredictable people. And sometimes it is simply the mind attempting to make sense of random events. That is why this video is not designed to give you a dramatic label. It is designed to help you develop discernment. Because genuine intuition should not make you more paranoid, should make you more observant, should not disconnect you from reality. It should help you respond to reality with greater clarity. It should not make you believe that you are superior to other people. It should make you more responsible for the way you use your sensitivity. As we explore these 5 signs, you may recognize experiences you have never been able to explain. You may also discover that something you once considered a spiritual warning was actually an emotional pattern asking to be healed. Both discoveries are valuable. Understanding yourself is more important than receiving an impressive title. And if this is the kind of conversation you have been searching for, subscribe to the channel now. Here we explore spirituality through the realities of psychology, relationships, emotional healing, identity, and personal growth. Your subscription helps this community grow and allows these messages to reach people who may have spent years believing they were alone in what they experience. Now let us begin with the first sign. It often appears as a picture in the mind. Sudden, clear, unexpected, and sometimes disturbingly accurate. Chapter 1. Vivid mental images that feel different from ordinary thoughts. Most people create mental images throughout the day. You imagine what you are going to wear. You picture an upcoming conversation. You rehearse a difficult moment before it happens. You think about what could go right and what could go wrong. That is normal. But some images feel different. They do not seem created. They arrive suddenly, clearly, without effort. You may be washing dishes when an image flashes through your mind. Person calling you. An object breaking. Conversation becoming tense. Car taking a certain road. A loved one looking distressed. The image may last only a second, but it leaves an emotional imprint. Something about it feels more vivid than an ordinary thought. Then, hours later, or sometimes only minutes later, something strangely similar happens. That is when you begin to wonder, was that imagination, coincidence, anxiety, or did some part of me perceive what was coming before I consciously understood it? Imagine this. You are sitting in your living room. For no obvious reason, you suddenly picture a glass falling from the kitchen counter. You dismiss it. A few moments later, someone brushes against the counter and the glass falls. Or perhaps you see a clear image of a friend crying. Nothing has happened between you. There is no logical reason to worry. But the image stays with you. Call. And the friend admits they have been struggling all day. Experiences like these can feel impossible to explain. But there is more than one way to understand them. From a psychological perspective, your subconscious mind is constantly collecting information. Far more information than your conscious mind can process. It notices small changes in tone, tiny shifts in facial expression, objects placed in unstable positions, patterns in behavior, changes in routine. Your conscious mind may not register those details, but your subconscious does. Then it communicates the conclusion in the fastest language it knows. An image, feeling, physical reaction, an inner warning. This is one reason intuition can feel mysterious. You receive the answer without seeing the process that created it. Your brain has already connected the dots, but it has not yet explained them to you. Think of someone who has spent years working in the same profession. A nurse may sense that something is wrong with a patient before the monitors reveal it. A teacher may know that a student is struggling before the child says anything. A parent may feel that something has changed in their son or daughter based on one brief conversation. They may not immediately know why, But experience has trained the mind to recognize subtle patterns. The conclusion arrives first. The explanation comes later. Spiritually, some people believe these mental images are forms of guidance. They may see them as intuitive impressions, symbolic messages, or brief glimpses of a deeper level of awareness. The important point is not to force one explanation. The important point is to examine the experience honestly. Because not every mental image is meaningful. Some are ordinary thoughts. Some come from fear. Some come from stress. Some are created by memories. And some are simply random. This is where discernment becomes essential. An anxious mind creates images too. But anxiety usually behaves differently. Anxiety is repetitive. It is loud. It jumps from one catastrophe to another. It does not show you one clear possibility. It shows you 10 terrible endings. Keeps demanding certainty. It asks, what if something bad happens? What if I lose control? What if I make the wrong decision? What if this ends badly? Intuition is often quieter. Maybe serious. Maybe uncomfortable. But it does not usually argue. Gives you one impression. Then it becomes still. For example, imagine you are preparing to travel. An anxious mind may imagine the plane crashing, your luggage disappearing, you getting lost, and every possible problem happening at once. A quieter intuitive signal may simply say, leave earlier, check the reservation again, take a different route, call before you go. The difference is not always obvious. That is why you should not obey every image immediately. You should observe it. Ask yourself, did this image arrive suddenly? Or did I build it through repeated worry? Did it feel clear or chaotic? Did it create awareness or panic? Was there something in my environment that may have triggered it? Does it connect to an old fear? Or does it feel emotionally different from my usual thoughts? These questions help you separate information from imagination. They also protect you from turning every thought into a prophecy. Because once a person begins believing that every mental image predicts the future, life can become exhausting. They may become afraid of their own mind. They may interpret every uncomfortable thought as a warning. They may avoid people, places, and decisions based on fear rather than wisdom. That is not intuition. That is losing emotional balance. Genuine discernment should help you live more clearly, not more fearfully. One of the most effective ways to understand these experiences is to document them before anything happens. Keep a private journal. When an unusual mental image appears, write down a date, time, what you saw, what you were doing, how you felt, and what you believe the image might mean. Then leave it alone. Do not change the entry later. Do not rewrite it to match what happened. Return to it after a few days or weeks. You may discover that some images were surprisingly accurate. Others may have reflected emotional concerns. Some may have been symbolic, and many may have meant nothing at all. That is not failure. That is clarity. A real pattern does not need to be exaggerated. It becomes visible over time. You may also notice that these images appear more frequently under certain conditions. Perhaps when you are quiet, before sleep, during prayer, while walking, when you are emotionally connected to someone, or when you are facing an important decision. This does not automatically prove anything supernatural, but it helps you understand when your mind is most receptive and observant. Silence matters. Most people live surrounded by noise. Messages, videos, conversations, deadlines, notifications. The mind rarely has space to reveal what it has been processing. Then, when everything becomes quiet, information rises. An image appears. A memory returns. A truth you have been avoiding becomes visible. This is why some people become more intuitive when they begin meditating, journaling, praying, or spending time alone. They are not necessarily receiving more information. They may simply be hearing what was already there. But there is also a deeper emotional layer. Sometimes the image is not predicting an external event. It is revealing an internal truth. You may repeatedly picture yourself leaving a relationship. That does not necessarily mean the relationship is destined to end. It may mean part of you feels trapped. You may repeatedly see yourself standing alone. That may not be a prediction of loneliness. It may represent independence, fear of abandonment, or a need to rediscover who you are. You may picture a door closing. That image may symbolize an ending, boundary, a decision, or a chapter you already know is complete. The mind often speaks through symbols when words feel too direct. This is why the better question is not always, "Will this happen?" Sometimes the better question is, "What is this image showing me about my life right now? What emotion is connected to it? What truth have I been avoiding? What pattern am I beginning to recognize? What decision am I afraid to make?" That kind of reflection turns an unusual image into a tool for self-awareness, even when it does not predict anything. And perhaps that is the real value, not proving that you can see the future, but becoming more aware of the present, more aware of what your body notices, more aware of what your emotions have been trying to tell you, more aware of the relationships, environments, and decisions that no longer feel aligned with who you are becoming. If you have ever seen something clearly in your mind shortly before it happened, share your experience in the comments. Keep it simple. What did you see? And what happened afterward? Your story may help someone else recognize an experience they have spent years dismissing. And subscribe to the channel if you want to continue exploring the connection between intuition, psychology, emotional healing, and spiritual awareness. Because the second sign moves beyond mental images. Appears the moment you walk into a room. Before anyone speaks. Before anything obvious happens. Your body already knows that something feels different. Chapter 2. Extreme sensitivity to people and places. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt that something was wrong? No one said anything. No one looked upset. Everything appeared normal. But your body reacted before your mind could explain why. Your chest tightened. Your stomach felt uneasy. Your shoulders became tense. You suddenly wanted to leave. Then, hours or days later, you discovered there had been conflict in that room. Someone had been hiding anger. A difficult conversation had happened before you arrived. Or a person who seemed friendly was not being completely honest. Experiences like these are often described as sensing energy. And for many people that is exactly how it feels. The atmosphere of a place seems heavy. Person feels warm and safe. Another feels draining or unsettling. A home may look beautiful, yet something inside you cannot relax there. A crowded event may appear joyful, but you feel emotionally overwhelmed within minutes. Some people notice these reactions occasionally. Highly sensitive people experience them constantly. They are not only listening to words. They are noticing tone, facial expressions, silence, body posture, emotional tension, unspoken conflict. Their nervous system is processing details that others may ignore. This can feel like a spiritual ability because the information arrives so quickly. You do not consciously analyze the situation. You simply feel it. But psychology gives us another layer of understanding. The human nervous system is always scanning for safety. Even when you are not aware of it. It notices whether someone's smile looks genuine, whether their voice matches their words, whether the environment feels predictable, whether the people around you seem relaxed or guarded. This automatic process is sometimes called neuroception. Your body evaluates safety before your conscious mind makes a decision. That is why you may feel uneasy around someone who appears charming. Everyone else seems impressed. They speak confidently. They smile. They know exactly what to say. But something in you does not settle. You cannot explain it. So you question yourself. Maybe I am being unfair. Maybe I am too suspicious. Maybe I am judging this person too quickly. Sometimes that feeling is simply discomfort with someone new. But sometimes you are noticing inconsistency. Their expression changes when they think no one is watching. Their kindness feels rehearsed. They ask personal questions without revealing anything about themselves. They flatter people they want something from. Your conscious mind may miss those details. Your body may not. Weeks later, their true behavior becomes visible, and you remember the first feeling you had. This is why sensitive people often say, "I knew something was off from the beginning." But sensitivity is not always accurate. And this is where the subject becomes more complicated. If you grew up in an unpredictable environment, you may have learned to monitor everyone around you. Perhaps a parent's mood changed without warning. Maybe silence meant trouble. Maybe you had to study facial expressions to know whether it was safe to speak. Perhaps you learned to recognize tension before an argument began. That skill may have protected you. But later in life it can become hypervigilance. You continue scanning every room, every relationship, every conversation, not because danger is present, but because your nervous system still expects it. This is why some people confuse trauma responses with intuition. Both can feel immediate. Both can create physical sensations. Both can make you want to escape. But they do not always come from the same place. Hypervigilance often assumes danger first. It may react strongly to neutral situations. Intuition tends to be more specific. Hypervigilance says, "No one here is safe." Intuition may say, "Be careful with this particular person." Hypervigilance says, "Something terrible is about to happen." Intuition may say, "Do not share too much yet." One creates generalized fear. The other offers focused information. Still, the distinction is not always easy. That is why emotional healing is essential. The more you understand your wounds, the easier it becomes to recognize what belongs to the past and what belongs to the present. Imagine meeting someone who reminds you of a person who once betrayed you. Their voice, their mannerisms, their confidence. Your body may react immediately, but the reaction may be connected to memory, not to the actual person in front of you. This does not mean you should ignore the feeling. It means you should investigate it. What exactly am I noticing? Does this person remind me of someone? Is there evidence that they are behaving dishonestly? Or is my body responding to an old association? You do not have to force yourself to trust anyone. But you also do not have to decide that every uncomfortable person is dangerous. Discernment allows space. You can remain cautious without becoming accusatory. You can observe without inventing a story. You can protect yourself while staying connected to reality. Sensitive people also react strongly to places. A hospital may feel emotionally heavy. A house may feel peaceful. A workplace may feel tense before anyone explains the problem. Again, there are many possible reasons. Hospitals contain fear, grief, hope, exhaustion, and uncertainty. A home may feel peaceful because of lighting, sound, familiarity, or the way people interact there. A workplace may feel tense because employees avoid eye contact, speak quietly, or move with unusual caution. Your body notices the emotional pattern. Spiritually, some people believe places retain emotional impressions. They feel that repeated conflict, grief, prayer, love, or trauma can affect the atmosphere of a location. Whether you interpret this spiritually or psychologically, the experience can be powerful. The important question is, what happens inside you when you enter that place? Do you feel more like yourself, or less? Do you relax, or become guarded? Do you feel clear, or confused? Your body often provides information before your thoughts become organized. That does not mean your body is always correct, but it deserves attention. Many people spend years overriding physical signals. They remain in jobs where they feel constantly depleted. They continue relationships that leave them anxious and emotionally disoriented. They force themselves to attend gatherings where they never feel safe enough to be authentic. Then they wonder why they feel exhausted. Sensitivity becomes painful when you repeatedly ignore it. Perhaps you are not tired because you are weak. Perhaps you are tired because you are constantly adapting to environments that require you to suppress yourself. You watch your words, control your reactions, anticipate other people's moods. Try to maintain peace, absorb tension, and leave with your nervous system completely overwhelmed. This happens frequently in relationships with emotionally unpredictable people. You may enter the room already checking their face. Are they upset? Did I do something wrong? Is today going to be peaceful? Should I stay quiet? You become more focused on their emotional state than your own. Over time, you lose contact with yourself. You know how everyone else feels, but you no longer know what you need. This is not spiritual sensitivity at its healthiest. It is emotional over-responsibility. Many empathetic people fall into this pattern. They believe caring means carrying. They absorb the stress of others. They become the emotional regulator for the entire family. They listen to everyone, support everyone, calm everyone, then feel guilty when they need distance. But compassion does not require self-abandonment. You can understand another person without becoming responsible for their emotions. You can recognize pain without absorbing it. You can care without fixing. You can pray without rescuing. You can love someone and still establish limits. This may be one of the most important lessons for highly sensitive people. Your sensitivity gives you information. It does not assign you a mission every time someone is uncomfortable. Not every sad person is yours to save. Not every tense room is yours to heal. Not every problem requires your energy. Sometimes your only responsibility is to notice, to decide whether the environment is healthy for you, and to act accordingly. After spending time with someone, pause and ask yourself, how did I feel before this interaction? How do I feel now? Do I feel peaceful, drained, confused, ashamed, energized, guarded? Did I feel free to be myself? Or was I constantly managing the other person's response? These questions can reveal relationship patterns you have normalized. Perhaps you always leave one friendship feeling inadequate. Perhaps a family gathering makes you feel like a child again. Perhaps one coworker leaves you questioning your memory and judgment. Perhaps a romantic partner says all the right things, yet you remain anxious after every conversation. Do not ignore consistent patterns. A single difficult interaction proves very little. Repeated emotional confusion deserves attention. Your nervous system may be telling you that the relationship lacks emotional safety. Another sign of sensitivity is picking up emotions that do not feel like your own. You may begin the day feeling calm. Then, after talking to someone, you suddenly feel anxious. You enter a crowded space and become irritated for no obvious reason. You sit beside someone who is grieving and feel sadness rise in your body. Emotions are contagious. Human beings unconsciously mirror one another. We copy posture, breathing, facial expression, with energy level. This is part of empathy and social connection. But highly sensitive people may mirror too deeply. They lose the boundary between compassion and identification. Instead of thinking, this person is anxious, they begin feeling, I am anxious. Instead of recognizing, this room is tense, they assume, something is wrong with me. Learning to separate these experiences can change your life. When your emotional state changes suddenly, ask, was I feeling this before I entered the room? Did this emotion begin after speaking to someone? Does this feeling match what is happening in my life? Or does it seem disconnected from my circumstances? Then take a few moments to reset. Step outside. Breathe slowly. Move your body. Wash your hands. Write down what you feel. Pray or meditate. Remind yourself, I can care without carrying everything. These small practices help your nervous system return to its own baseline. They also prevent you from making impulsive decisions based on emotions that may not fully belong to you. Spiritual sensitivity should not make you fragile. It should make you more conscious of what affects you. The goal is not to avoid every intense person or challenging environment. The goal is to know how to remain connected to yourself within them. To recognize when you need rest, when you need a boundary, when you need distance, and when you need more information before trusting your first impression. Think about the places where you feel most peaceful. What do they have in common? Perhaps there is natural light, quiet, respectful people, space to think, predictable communication. Now think about the places where you consistently feel depleted. What happens there? Do people interrupt you, criticize you, demand emotional labor, ignore your boundaries, create conflict and expect you to repair it? Your sensitivity may be revealing something important. Not that you are weak, not that you are difficult, but that your emotional system has been trying to guide you toward healthier environments. If your body consistently contracts around someone, do not rush to judge them, but do not rush to betray yourself either. Slow down. Observe. Protect your privacy. Let trust develop through consistent behavior. A trustworthy person will not punish you for moving carefully. And if you have ever entered a room and immediately sensed tension, tell us in the comments. What did your body notice first? Was it pressure in your chest? A heavy feeling? Restlessness? The urge to leave? Learning your personal signals is one of the first steps toward understanding your sensitivity. And subscribe to the channel if you have spent years being told that you are too sensitive. You may not need to become less sensitive. You may need stronger boundaries, better discernment, and a deeper understanding of your own nervous system. The third sign is even more difficult to explain, because sometimes you do not see an image. You do not feel an atmosphere. You simply know something. No evidence. No warning. No logical explanation. Just a quiet certainty that later proves impossible to ignore. Chapter 3. Knowing things you were never told. Sometimes intuition does not arrive as an image, does not appear in a dream, does not create a strong physical reaction. It arrives as knowledge, quiet, immediate, complete. You simply know something, but you do not know how you know it. You may be having an ordinary conversation when a sudden certainty rises inside you. The person in front of you is hiding something. A friend is not telling you the whole truth. Someone who appears confident is actually deeply afraid. A loved one needs support, even though they insist everything is fine. There may be no obvious evidence, no confession, no visible sign, yet the feeling remains. Then later the truth comes to light. This experience is sometimes described spiritually as clear knowing. The ability to receive information without seeing, hearing, or logically reasoning your way toward it. But before we call it a spiritual gift, we need to understand how extraordinary the human mind already is. Your brain is constantly collecting information. Tone of voice, timing, pauses, contradictions, facial expressions, word choice, body language, changes in routine, the things people say, and the things they carefully avoid saying. Most of this happens beneath conscious awareness. You may not notice that someone paused before answering. You may not realize their smile disappeared for half a second. You may not consciously register that their story changed. But your brain stores the inconsistency. Then it gives you the conclusion. Something does not fit. This is why intuition often feels like knowing without evidence. The evidence may exist. You simply have not brought it into conscious awareness yet. Imagine talking to someone you trust. They tell you everything is fine. Their words sound normal. But something feels different. They answer too quickly. Their voice lacks its usual warmth. They change the subject when you ask a simple question. You leave the conversation with a strong sense that they are struggling. Hours later, they call and admit they have been going through something difficult. You did not read their mind. You may have read the pattern. And because that pattern was processed unconsciously, the conclusion felt immediate. Experienced professionals often develop this kind of knowing. A therapist may sense that a client is avoiding the most important part of the story. A teacher may realize a student is having problems at home. A physician may suspect something is wrong before the test results arrive. A parent may hear one sentence from their child and instantly know something has changed. Years of experience create internal pattern recognition. The mind learns what certain situations feel like before it can explain them. But there are also moments that appear more mysterious. You suddenly think of someone you have not spoken to in months. The thought is unusually persistent. You send a message. They respond almost immediately. I cannot believe you contacted me today. Perhaps they were dealing with a loss, making a major decision, feeling alone, or thinking about you at the same time. Was it coincidence? Relational memory? Subconscious awareness? A spiritual connection? Sometimes the most honest answer is, we do not know. And not knowing does not make the experience less meaningful. There is wisdom in allowing mystery to remain mystery. Not everything meaningful can be measured immediately. And not everything unexplained must be exaggerated. The problem begins when a person assumes that every strong feeling is accurate. Certainty is not proof. People can feel completely convinced and still be wrong. This happens in relationships all the time. Someone feels certain that their partner is losing interest. Another person feels certain that a friend is talking behind their back. Someone else feels certain that a family member is angry. But when they investigate, they discover something else. The partner was overwhelmed at work. The friend was dealing with a personal crisis. The family member was exhausted. The feeling was real. The interpretation was wrong. This distinction is essential. An emotion can be valid without being factual. You can feel rejected even when no one is rejecting you. You can feel unsafe even when there is no immediate danger. You can feel certain and still be responding to an old wound. This is especially common for people who have experienced betrayal. Once someone has lied to you, manipulated you, or suddenly abandoned you, your mind begins searching for early warning signs. That is understandable. Your nervous system wants to prevent the pain from happening again. But sometimes it overcorrects. A delayed response becomes proof of rejection. A change in tone becomes evidence of dishonesty. A request for space becomes confirmation that the relationship is ending. This is not because you are irrational. It is because your past taught you to prepare for emotional danger. The challenge is learning to distinguish present information from past fear. Ask yourself, what do I actually know? What am I assuming? What evidence supports this feeling? What evidence challenges it? Does this situation resemble something painful from my past? Am I responding to this person? Or to someone they remind me of? These questions do not weaken intuition. They refine it. True discernment is not afraid of examination. It does not need you to believe every impression instantly. Can survive honest questions. There is also a relational danger in unexplained knowing. You may begin to assume that you understand people better than they understand themselves. You might say, I know what you are thinking. I know what your real intention is. I know you are lying. Even when your concern is reasonable, this language can become controlling, leaves no room for dialogue, turns your interpretation into a verdict. A healthier approach sounds different. I feel there may be more happening beneath the surface. Something about this conversation feels incomplete. I may be wrong, but I sense that you are carrying something. Would you like to talk about what is really going on? This allows intuition to open a conversation instead of closing one. Protects both truth and dignity. Mature intuition is humble. It does not need to announce itself dramatically. Does not demand obedience. It does not use spiritual language to pressure others. It leaves room for correction. This becomes especially important when people say things such as, "God told me what you should do. I received a message about your relationship. I know this person is bad for you." These statements may sound spiritual, but they can also become manipulative. No one should use an inner impression to take control of another person's decisions. A responsible person might say, "I had a concern, but I want you to reflect and decide for yourself." That is very different. One approach claims authority. The other offers perspective. Spiritual maturity respects free will. There is another form of unexplained knowing that is far more compassionate. Sometimes you know that someone needs support. They have not asked for help. They may not even realize how overwhelmed they are. But you feel drawn to check on them. You send a message, call. You sit beside them. You ask a deeper question than usual. And suddenly they begin to open up. This kind of knowing often grows from emotional attunement. You recognize changes in people you care about. Perhaps their usual humor disappears. Their messages become shorter. They stop mentioning future plans. They become more withdrawn. Your conscious mind may not connect those details, but your inner awareness does. You feel the need to reach out. This is where intuition becomes useful, not when it makes you feel special, but when it helps you become present, more caring, more attentive, more willing to notice what others overlook. Think about how many people say, "I'm fine," when they are not. They say it automatically. They do not want to burden anyone. They may not have the words. They may fear being judged. A perceptive person notices the difference between the words and the emotional reality. But even then, you must respect boundaries. You can invite. You cannot force. You can say, "I'm here if you want to talk." You cannot demand that someone reveal what they are not ready to share. Sensitivity without boundaries becomes intrusion. Sensitivity with respect becomes compassion. You may also experience unexplained knowing about decisions. You are offered an opportunity that looks perfect. The salary is good. The timing seems right. Everyone tells you to accept. But something inside you remains unsettled. Or perhaps the opposite happens. Path appears uncertain. It does not make complete logical sense. Yet you feel a deep, calm confidence about it. These moments can be life-changing. But major decisions should not be based on intuition alone. Inner knowing can be part of the decision. It should not replace careful thinking. Ask practical questions. Gather information. Consider the risks. Speak with trustworthy people. Pay attention to your values. Then notice whether the inner feeling changes. Healthy intuition and reason do not have to be enemies. They can work together. Reason examines the facts. Intuition notices what may not yet be obvious. Reason asks, "Does this make sense?" Intuition asks, "Does this align?" Reason evaluates the path. Intuition evaluates what happens inside you when you imagine walking it. The strongest decisions often involve both. There is also a difference between peace and comfort. A decision can feel uncomfortable because it requires growth. That does not mean it is wrong. Leaving an unhealthy relationship may feel frightening. Setting a boundary may feel guilty. Changing careers may feel uncertain. Telling the truth may feel risky. You cannot judge every decision by whether it feels easy. Sometimes intuition leads you toward discomfort because discomfort is part of transformation. The deeper question is, does this fear come from danger or from growth? Danger contracts your sense of self. Growth challenges you while still feeling honest. Danger asks you to betray your values. Growth asks you to become more aligned with them. Danger creates confusion and loss of identity. Growth may create uncertainty, but it also brings a deeper sense of integrity. You can also test your unexplained knowing over time. Write down the impressions that feel significant. Do not wait until after the event. Record them before anything is confirmed. Then review them honestly. How often were you accurate? How often were you partially right? How often did fear influence your interpretation? How often did you notice something real but misunderstand what it meant? This practice helps prevent selective memory. People naturally remember the moments when intuition was correct. They often forget the many impressions that led nowhere. Honest tracking protects you from exaggerating your accuracy, and it helps you identify genuine patterns. Perhaps you discover that you are especially perceptive in relationships. Maybe you notice emotional shifts quickly. Perhaps you recognize dishonesty through inconsistencies. Maybe your strongest intuition appears when someone you love is struggling. Or perhaps you discover that your intuition becomes unreliable when you feel rejected, exhausted, or afraid. That information is extremely valuable. Teaches you when to listen closely and when to wait before reacting. One of the clearest signs of mature intuition is emotional regulation. The calmer you become, the more clearly you can interpret what you feel. When you are overwhelmed, every signal becomes louder. Fear feels like certainty. Urgency feels like truth. But when you pause, breathe, and create distance, the real message often becomes simpler. Maybe the message is not, "This person is going to hurt me." Maybe it is, "Do not trust too quickly." Maybe it is not, "This relationship is doomed." Maybe it is, "There is a conversation you have been avoiding." Maybe it is not, "Something terrible is about to happen." Maybe it is, "You are exhausted and need to slow down." Discernment often removes drama. It reveals the practical truth beneath the emotional intensity. And this is why self-awareness matters so much. The more you know your patterns, the easier it becomes to recognize what is truly different. You know what anxiety feels like in your body. You know how abandonment fear behaves. You know when you are projecting. You know when you are seeking reassurance. Then, when a calm and unfamiliar certainty appears, you are better able to recognize it. If you have ever known something before you were told, share your experience in the comments. Did you sense that someone needed you? Did you recognize dishonesty? Did you know a decision was wrong before the evidence appeared? Tell us what happened, but also tell us what made that experience feel different from ordinary fear. And subscribe to the channel if this chapter helped you understand that intuition is not about believing every thought. It is about learning which thoughts deserve your attention. The fourth sign appears when your conscious mind finally becomes quiet, when your defenses relax, when the noise of the day disappears. It arrives through dreams. But the most important dreams are not always the ones that predict an event. Sometimes they reveal the truth you have been avoiding while awake. Chapter 4. Dreams that feel more real than ordinary dreams. Most dreams disappear quickly. You wake up. You remember a face, place, strange emotion. Then the details begin to fade. Within minutes, the dream is gone. But some dreams are different. They remain clear, detailed, emotionally intense. You remember the colors, the words, the expressions, the exact sequence of events. And sometimes, days or weeks later, something happens that feels disturbingly similar. You hear the same phrase. You enter a place you have never visited, yet it feels familiar. You meet someone whose face seems connected to a dream. You experience a conversation that feels as though it already happened. This is why prophetic dreams have fascinated people for centuries. Across cultures, dreams have been treated as warnings, symbols, messages, and glimpses into possibilities that the waking mind cannot yet see. But before assuming a dream predicts the future, it is important to understand what dreams already do psychologically. Your mind does not stop working when you sleep. Continues organizing memories, processing emotions, connecting details, rehearsing possible outcomes, and revealing concerns you may be suppressing during the day. Sometimes a dream feels prophetic because your subconscious recognized where a situation was heading before your conscious mind accepted it. Imagine dreaming that your relationship ends. 2 weeks later it does. First, the dream feels like a prediction. But when you look back honestly, the signs may have already been present. Less communication, emotional distance, unresolved resentment, avoided conversations, a change in affection. Your waking mind may have resisted the truth because it was painful. Your dreaming mind did not. The dream may not have shown you the future. It may have shown you the present with greater honesty. This is one of the most important ways to understand unusual dreams. Sometimes they do not predict what will happen. They reveal what is already happening beneath the surface. Your dreams may recognize emotional truths before you are ready to name them. You may dream that you are lost. That does not necessarily mean you will become physically lost. It may reflect a period of confusion, a loss of identity, a major life transition. You may dream that you are driving a car with no brakes. That may symbolize feeling out of control. You may dream that you cannot speak. Perhaps you are living in a relationship where your voice does not feel safe. You may dream that a door keeps closing. That could represent rejection, a missed opportunity, or a chapter of your life that is ending. Dreams often speak through symbols because symbols can hold more emotion than ordinary language. A single image can contain fear, memory, hope, and meaning at the same time. This is why literal interpretation can be misleading. If you dream about death, it does not automatically mean someone will die. Death in dreams often symbolizes transformation, the end of an identity, the loss of a role, the closing of a relationship, the beginning of something unfamiliar. If you dream of water, it may reflect emotion. If the water is calm, perhaps you are seeking peace. If it is violent, perhaps you feel emotionally overwhelmed. If you dream of a house, the house may represent your inner life. Different rooms may reflect different parts of yourself. A locked room may symbolize something you are not ready to face. An empty room may represent loneliness. A damaged house may reflect emotional exhaustion. The meaning depends on your experience. No symbol has exactly the same meaning for everyone. A snake may represent danger to one person, transformation to another, fear to someone else, childhood memory to another. This is why generic dream interpretations are limited. The most important question is not, what does this symbol mean in a book? It is, what does this symbol mean to me? What emotion did I feel? What part of my life carries that same emotion? That is where the deeper interpretation begins. There are also dreams that feel unusually specific. You dream about a conversation. Later, someone says nearly the same words. You dream of a person contacting you. The next day they do. You dream of a place you have never seen. Then months later you recognize it. These experiences are harder to explain. Sometimes they may be coincidence. Sometimes your memory connects the dream to the event after it happens. Human memory is not perfect. Changes, fills in gaps. It emphasizes similarities. That does not mean the experience is false. It means careful observation matters. If you want to know whether your dreams follow a real pattern, write them down immediately. Before looking at your phone. Before talking to anyone. Before the details fade. Write the date, people, the location, the exact words you remember, the strongest emotion, and what made the dream feel unusual. Then do not change the entry later. Do not add details after an event happens. Return to it over time. You may discover that some dreams were surprisingly accurate. Others were symbolic. Some reflected stress. And many were simply strange combinations of memory and imagination. That honesty is essential. A real pattern does not need help. It reveals itself. Some people only remember the dreams that later seemed meaningful. They forget the hundreds that did not. This is a natural mental bias. The mind looks for connections. That is why a dream journal is so useful. Gives you evidence, not just memory. You may also begin to notice your own dream categories. Some dreams process daily stress. Some repeat old emotional wounds. Some seem symbolic. Some bring comfort. Some feel like warnings. And some feel completely different from the rest. Perhaps the unusual dreams are calmer, more organized, less chaotic. Maybe they contain one clear message. Maybe you wake with a strong certainty rather than confusion. This difference matters. Anxiety dreams are often repetitive and emotionally overwhelming. You are late. You are being chased. You are unprepared. You cannot find something. You are abandoned. You lose control. These dreams often reflect familiar fears. A dream that feels intuitive may be simpler. One person, one place, one message, one action. But even then, you should remain grounded. Powerful dream is not always an instruction. It may be an invitation to reflect. Suppose you dream that an old partner returns. That does not necessarily mean they will come back. It may mean part of you still wants closure. It may mean you miss who you were during that period. It may mean your current relationship has activated an old emotional wound. Or it may simply be your mind processing an unresolved memory. Do not make a major life decision based on one dream. Do not contact someone simply because they appeared while you slept. Reflect. Ask what the dream awakened. Longing, fear, regret, anger, hope, grief. The emotional meaning is often more important than the literal event. Dreams can also reveal truths about self-worth. You may repeatedly dream of being ignored. Perhaps you feel invisible in your waking life. You may dream that everyone leaves you behind. Perhaps abandonment is one of your deepest fears. You may dream that you are standing on a stage, unable to speak. Maybe you are afraid of judgment. Maybe you have been hiding your voice. Maybe you have spent years living according to other people's expectations. A dream may show you the emotional pattern in exaggerated form so that you can finally recognize it. That recognition can be healing, because once you understand the pattern, you can begin changing it. You can ask, where am I silencing myself? Where do I feel trapped? What am I afraid to lose? What am I trying to control? What truth keeps returning when I become quiet? Sometimes dreams about the future are really dreams about the direction of your life. You may not be seeing a fixed event. You may be seeing where your current choices are leading. For example, you dream that you are completely exhausted and alone. Perhaps the dream is not predicting isolation. It may be revealing the result of continuing to overwork, overgive, and ignore your needs. You dream that a relationship collapses. Perhaps the dream is showing what may happen if communication does not change. You dream that you miss a train. Perhaps your mind is expressing fear about delaying an important decision. In this sense, a dream can be a warning without being a supernatural prediction. It shows a possibility, direction, consequence that can be incredibly valuable. The future is not always a fixed destination. Sometimes it is a pattern already forming. Dreams may help you notice that pattern early enough to change it. There are also dreams that bring peace. You may dream about a loved one who has passed away. They seem calm, healthy, present. You wake with a feeling of comfort that stays with you all day. Some people interpret these dreams as spiritual visitations. Others see them as the mind processing grief and preserving emotional connection. You do not always need to choose one explanation. The experience may be psychologically healing and spiritually meaningful at the same time. What matters is the effect. Did the dream bring peace? Did it help you release guilt? Did it allow you to feel connected? Did it help you continue living with greater acceptance? Meaning is not always reduced by understanding the mind. Sometimes understanding makes the experience even more profound. However, disturbing dreams require care. A frightening dream does not automatically mean danger is coming. Stress can produce vivid nightmares. So can grief, trauma, sleep deprivation, medication, illness, emotional conflict, and the content you consume before bed. If your dreams are repeatedly disturbing, affecting your sleep, or increasing fear during the day, it may be helpful to speak with a mental health professional or healthcare provider. Spiritual reflection can support you, but it should not replace appropriate care. Discernment means using every available form of wisdom. There is also a temptation to become obsessed with dreams, to search every symbol, to spend the day looking for confirmation, to fear that missing one detail will cause something terrible. That is not healthy spiritual awareness. A dream should not control your life. You can receive it, record it, reflect on it, pray about it, then return to the present. Because even if a dream contains guidance, you still have to live today. You still have choices. You still need communication, boundaries, patience, and emotional balance. A mature approach to dreams asks 3 questions. First, what happened in the dream? Second, what emotion did it create? Third, where does that same emotion exist in my waking life? For example, you dream that you are locked outside your home. The dream event is exclusion. The emotion is fear and rejection. The waking life question becomes, where do I currently feel that I do not belong? That interpretation may reveal more than any generic symbol dictionary. Or perhaps you dream of carrying a heavy suitcase. The event is carrying weight. The emotion is exhaustion. The waking life question becomes, what responsibility am I carrying that may not belong to me? This is how dreams become tools for self-understanding. Not because they always tell you what will happen, but because they help reveal what is already happening within you. Your dream life may also become clearer when your waking life becomes more honest. When you avoid your emotions all day, they often become louder at night. When you suppress anger, fear, grief, or desire, dreams may express them through intense images. The more willing you are to face your feelings while awake, the less your dreams need to shout. This is why journaling before bed can be helpful. Write down what happened during the day. What upset you? What did you avoid saying? What are you worried about? What decision are you postponing? What do you need to release? This creates space for the mind to process consciously. You may notice that your dreams become clearer and less chaotic. You can also create a simple evening practice. Reduce stimulation before sleep. Avoid filling the final moments of your day with fear-based content. Sit quietly. Breathe. Pray or meditate. Ask for clarity rather than dramatic experiences. Then let go. Do not force a dream. Do not demand an answer. A calm mind often perceives more clearly than a desperate one. And if you wake from an intense dream, do not immediately interpret it while emotionally activated. Write it down. Drink water. Breathe. Return to it later. The meaning may look very different in daylight. This is especially important if the dream involves someone you love. Fear can make you assume the worst. Give yourself time. Ask whether the dream is literal, symbolic, or emotional. Sometimes the person in the dream represents an aspect of you. Perhaps you dream about a courageous friend because you need courage. Perhaps you dream about a critical parent because your inner critic has become louder. Perhaps you dream about a child because part of you needs care. Every character in a dream may be more than themselves. They may represent memories, qualities, fears, or unmet needs. This is why dream interpretation is personal. It requires curiosity, not certainty, humility, not fear. If you have ever had a dream that later seemed connected to a real event, share your experience in the comments. What made that dream feel different? Was it the clarity, the emotion, the details, or the feeling you had when you woke up? Your experience may help someone else understand a dream they have never forgotten. And subscribe to the channel if you want more content that explores spiritual experiences without ignoring psychology, emotional health, and practical wisdom. Because the fifth sign is the most revealing of all. It is not about seeing something before it happens. It is not about sensing a room. It is not about receiving knowledge. It is about what happens when another person suddenly enters your mind, and you feel an urgent need to pray, reach out, or help. That is where sensitivity stops being only a personal experience and begins to become a responsibility. Chapter 5. The strong urge to pray, reach out, or help someone. Sometimes a person suddenly enters your mind. Not casually, not as a passing memory. They appear with unusual force. You may not have spoken to them in weeks. Nothing specific has happened. There is no obvious reason to worry. Yet the thought remains. You feel drawn to call them, text them, pray for them, check on them, or simply let them know they are not alone. At first, you may ignore the feeling. You tell yourself you are being dramatic. You assume they are probably fine. You continue with your day. But the urge returns, quietly, persistently, almost as though something inside you refuses to move on. Then you finally reach out. And the person says, "I cannot believe you contacted me today. I was just thinking about you. I really needed someone to ask how I was doing. I have been going through something, but I did not know who to tell." Moments like these can feel sacred, not because they prove you have extraordinary powers, but because you listened to compassion before logic gave you a reason. In spiritual traditions, this kind of experience is often described as a call to intercession, a sudden inner prompting to pray for someone, to hold them in your awareness, to ask for protection, healing, strength, or guidance on their behalf. Some people experience this while going about an ordinary day. Others wake in the middle of the night with a person's name on their mind. Some feel a deep emotional weight connected to someone they love. Others feel drawn to pray for a stranger, a community, or a situation they saw in the news. The feeling may not include details. You may not know what is wrong. You may only know that you feel compelled to respond. Psychology also offers a meaningful perspective. Human beings are deeply relational. We store enormous amounts of information about the people we care about. Their habits, their tone, their routines, their emotional patterns, the frequency of their messages, the way they behave when they are overwhelmed, the things they say when they are fine, and the subtle differences that appear when they are not. You may consciously believe there is no reason to be concerned, but your mind may have noticed something. Perhaps their last message was shorter than usual. Perhaps they stopped making plans. Perhaps they sounded distant. Perhaps they disappeared from a conversation more quickly than normal. You did not consciously analyze those details, but your deeper awareness registered them. Then the concern surfaced as an urge to reach out. This is why an experience can feel spiritual and psychological at the same time. Your mind may be recognizing a pattern. Your heart may be responding with compassion. Your faith may interpret the timing as meaningful. These explanations do not have to cancel each other out. The most important question is not, where did the feeling come from? The most important question is, how do I respond responsibly? Because a strong inner prompting can be handled with wisdom or with fear. Imagine waking from sleep with someone on your mind. A fearful response might be to call them in a panic and say, "I have a terrible feeling. Something bad is going to happen." That may frighten the person unnecessarily. A wiser response might be, "You crossed my mind strongly today. I just wanted to check in and see how you are doing." One response creates fear. The other creates connection. One makes the experience about proving your intuition. The other makes it about offering support. This distinction matters. True sensitivity should not make other people feel controlled. Should make them feel cared for. You do not need to dramatize what you felt. You do not need to announce that you received a supernatural warning. You can simply act with kindness. Send the message. Make the call. Offer a listening ear. Ask a sincere question. Pray privately. Bring practical help. Sometimes the most spiritual response is also the most ordinary. Showing up, listening, checking in, helping someone feel seen. Person may not need an explanation. They may simply need your presence. This fifth sign is different from the others because it shifts the focus away from you. The first sign was about what you see. The second was about what you feel in people and places. The third was about what you know. The fourth was about what appears in dreams. But this sign asks, what will you do with your sensitivity? Will you use it to feel special? Or will you use it to become more compassionate? That is the deeper test. Many people are fascinated by spiritual gifts because they want confirmation that they are different, chosen, unusual, more perceptive than others. But genuine sensitivity rarely exists only to make someone feel important. It often creates responsibility. If you notice what others overlook, you may also notice pain that others ignore. You may sense when someone is withdrawing, when a friend is pretending to be fine, when a family member needs encouragement, when a person is carrying more than they admit. That awareness can become a form of service. But it can also become a burden if you do not have boundaries. Highly sensitive people often struggle with emotional over-responsibility. They feel what others feel. They notice what others need. They become the person everyone calls. The listener, the rescuer, the peacemaker, the one who remembers every birthday, every crisis, every emotional detail. First, this may feel meaningful. You feel needed, useful, connected. But over time you may become exhausted. You begin carrying problems that are not yours. You feel guilty when you cannot help. You worry that saying no is selfish. You confuse compassion with constant availability. This is where sensitivity stops being a gift and starts becoming self-abandonment. You are not responsible for saving everyone you feel concerned about. You are not required to solve every problem you notice. You are not obligated to become the emotional support system for every person in your life. You can care deeply and still have limits. You can pray for someone without taking control of their choices. You can offer help without sacrificing your mental health. You can support someone without becoming their only source of stability. Compassion needs boundaries. Otherwise, it turns into burnout. Ask yourself, when I feel called to help someone, am I offering support? Or am I trying to rescue them? Am I responding from love? Or from fear that something bad will happen if I do not intervene? Am I respecting their freedom? Or assuming I know what is best for them? Am I helping because it is aligned with my values? Or because being needed makes me feel worthy? These are uncomfortable questions. But they are necessary. Sometimes people who constantly rescue others are trying to avoid themselves. They focus on everyone else's pain because their own pain feels too difficult to face. They become experts in other people's emotions, but strangers to their own. They know who needs encouragement, who is struggling, who is angry, who feels lonely. But if you ask them what they need, they do not know. This pattern often begins early. Perhaps you grew up in a family where you had to be emotionally mature before you were ready. Maybe you comforted a parent, protected a sibling, prevented arguments, learned to read the room. You became useful because usefulness created safety. Now, as an adult, you may interpret every emotional signal as a call to act. But not every feeling is an assignment. Sometimes you notice someone's pain simply because you are perceptive. That does not mean you must enter the situation. Sometimes the healthiest response is silent prayer. Sometimes it is a brief message. Sometimes it is practical help. And sometimes it is distance. Wisdom is not only knowing when to act. It is also knowing how much responsibility is actually yours. There is another danger. A person may use spiritual language to cross boundaries. They may say, "I know you need my help. God showed me what you should do. I can feel that you are making the wrong choice. I know what is happening inside you." Even when the intention is good, This can become intrusive. No one should use an inner impression to override another person's autonomy. You may feel something strongly, but you could still be wrong. You may have a concern, but the other person has the right to decide what to share. A respectful approach sounds different. You came to mind, and I wanted to check on you. I had a sense that you might need support. No pressure, but I am here. I have been thinking about you. How are you really doing? This leaves space. Does not force. Does not frighten. It does not claim authority over someone else's inner life. The goal is connection, not control. The same principle applies to prayer. Prayer can be deeply meaningful. It can help you respond to concern with love rather than panic. Can create a sense of connection when you do not know what else to do. Can remind you that you are not responsible for controlling every outcome. But prayer should not replace practical action when action is clearly needed. If someone may be in danger, reach out. If they need professional support, encourage it. If there is an emergency, contact appropriate help. If a person is isolated, do not only pray from a distance when you can also call. Spiritual care and practical responsibility should work together. Faith is not an excuse to avoid reality. Sometimes the answer to prayer is your willingness to act wisely. There are moments when the urge to help is simple. You think of someone. You send encouragement. They feel supported. There are other moments when the situation is more serious. Perhaps someone has been withdrawing. Their behavior has changed. They seem overwhelmed. They stop answering. They speak as though they have lost hope. In those moments, do not rely only on a spiritual interpretation. Ask direct, caring questions. Encourage them to speak with someone qualified. Help them connect with appropriate support. Sensitivity is most valuable when it leads to responsible care, not vague fear, and not secret assumptions. Sometimes the prompting is not about another person. It may reveal something about you. Perhaps you repeatedly feel called to help people who never reciprocate. That pattern may be asking you to examine your boundaries. Perhaps you are always drawn to emotionally unavailable people. That may reveal a familiar attachment pattern. Perhaps you feel responsible for fixing relationships that others refuse to work on. That may reveal a fear of abandonment. Your urge to help may be compassionate, but it may also carry old emotional conditioning. Again, both things can be true. You can genuinely care for someone and still be repeating an unhealthy pattern. This is why self-awareness matters. Why does this person's pain affect me so strongly? Do they remind me of someone? Am I trying to give them the care I once needed? Do I believe their healing will prove my worth? Am I afraid they will leave if I stop rescuing them? These questions do not make your compassion less sincere. They help you offer it more cleanly, without hidden fear, without control, without sacrificing yourself. There is also a difference between compassion and intuition-driven urgency. Compassion says, I care and I am available to help in a healthy way. Urgency says, I must do something immediately, or I will be responsible for what happens. Urgency often comes from anxiety, creates pressure. Compassion remains steady. It respects timing. It responds without taking ownership of another person's entire life. The more emotionally regulated you become, the easier it is to tell the difference. You can pause, breathe, pray, reflect, then decide what action is appropriate. Perhaps the action is a message. Perhaps it is a call. Perhaps it is offering practical support. Perhaps it is asking someone else to check in. Perhaps it is simply holding the person in your thoughts and releasing the outcome. You do not have to do everything. You only have to do what is wise and genuinely yours to do. Some people experience a persistent call to pray for larger situations. Communities, families, people affected by tragedy, social conflict, illness, violence, loneliness. This may reflect deep empathy, faith, a strong moral conscience, or a sense of connection to human suffering. The danger here is emotional overload. Constant exposure to pain can leave sensitive people feeling powerless. They begin carrying the weight of events they cannot control. They watch the news, absorb the suffering, feel guilty for continuing with ordinary life. But you are not helping the world by destroying your own emotional health. You need limits. You can care deeply without consuming every painful story. You can choose specific ways to contribute: prayer, volunteering, donating, supporting someone directly, sharing useful information, taking responsible action within your actual capacity. Compassion becomes sustainable when it has structure. Otherwise, it becomes despair. The strongest evidence of spiritual sensitivity is not how intensely you feel. It is how wisely you respond. Do you become more compassionate, more patient, more grounded, more respectful, more willing to listen? Do you know when to act and when to step back? Do you help without needing recognition? Can you support someone without making their struggle about your gift? These questions reveal maturity, because the ego can attach itself to spirituality very easily. It may want to be seen as the person who always knows, the person with the warning, the person with the message, the person others depend on. But genuine service rarely needs applause. Sometimes no one will know you prayed. No one will know you checked in because of an inner prompting. No one will know how carefully you chose your words. That is fine. The purpose was never to prove anything. The purpose was to respond with love. There may also be times when you reach out and discover that nothing is wrong. The person is completely fine. Your feeling did not correspond to a crisis. That does not mean you failed. Perhaps the message was simply to reconnect. Perhaps they needed encouragement more than they realized. Or perhaps your concern came from your own emotional state. You can accept that without shame. Not every prompting will be dramatic. Not every feeling will be accurate. Maturity includes being willing to say, "I may have interpreted that incorrectly." That honesty protects your discernment. It prevents you from forcing meaning where none exists. If you want to understand this pattern, keep a simple record. Write down when someone comes strongly to mind, what you felt, what action you took, and what happened afterward. Over time you may notice patterns. Perhaps certain people come to mind when they are under stress. Perhaps your concern is more accurate when it arrives calmly. Perhaps it becomes unreliable when you are tired or emotionally overwhelmed. This information helps you understand your own sensitivity. It also prevents selective memory. You begin working with evidence rather than dramatic stories. The deeper purpose of this sign is not predicting that someone needs you. It is becoming the kind of person who is willing to notice. Most people are distracted, busy, overstimulated, focused on their own problems. A sensitive person may notice when someone's smile does not reach their eyes, when their usual energy disappears, when they become unusually quiet, when they need to be asked a second time, "How are you really doing?" That kind of attention can change a person's day, sometimes even their life. You do not need supernatural certainty to offer compassion. You only need enough awareness to reach out. Perhaps your sensitivity is not asking you to become more mystical. Perhaps it is asking you to become more present, to listen more carefully, to speak more kindly, to stop assuming that everyone who looks fine is fine, to notice the people who rarely ask for help, to become a safe person. That is a powerful form of spiritual purpose. Not impressive, not dramatic, but deeply human. If someone has been coming to your mind while listening to this chapter, consider reaching out. Do not frighten them. Do not make assumptions. Simply say, "You crossed my mind, and I wanted to know how you are doing." Sometimes that is enough to open a door. And sometimes the person you need to check on is yourself. Perhaps you have been extending compassion to everyone except you. Perhaps you notice everyone else's exhaustion but ignore your own. Perhaps you respond immediately when others need help but remain silent when you are struggling. Your sensitivity includes your own inner life. You are also worthy of care, rest, support, prayer, and attention. Do not use your gift to disappear into other people's needs. Let it help you become more connected to yourself as well. If you have ever felt an unexplainable urge to call, pray for, or check on someone, and later discovered they needed support, share your experience in the comments. What did you feel? What did you do? And what happened afterward? Your story may encourage another person to stop ignoring a compassionate impulse. And subscribe to the channel if these 5 signs have helped you understand yourself more clearly. Subscribing is one small action, but it helps this community grow and allows these messages to reach more people who may have spent years doubting their own sensitivity. But recognizing the 5 signs is not enough. Because intuition can guide you, fear can also imitate it. The next chapter will reveal how to distinguish a genuine inner signal from anxiety, trauma, projection, and wishful thinking. This may be the most important distinction in the entire video. Without it, sensitivity can become confusion. With it, sensitivity can become wisdom. Chapter 6. How to distinguish intuition from fear. Recognizing the 5 signs is only the beginning. The more important task is learning how to interpret them correctly. Because intuition can guide you, but fear can imitate it. Anxiety can sound convincing. Trauma can feel like certainty. Old wounds can present themselves as warnings. And wishful thinking can disguise itself as spiritual guidance. This is where many people become confused. They feel something strongly and assume strength means truth. But intensity is not always accuracy. A feeling can be powerful and still be connected to the past. A thought can feel urgent and still come from anxiety. A dream can feel meaningful and still be processing stress. A connection can feel destined and still be unhealthy. Discernment is not about rejecting your inner world. It is about understanding it. You are learning to ask, what am I sensing? Where is it coming from? And what is the healthiest way to respond? One of the clearest differences between intuition and fear is the way they communicate. Fear is usually loud. It repeats itself, demands immediate action, creates endless possibilities, tells you that something terrible will happen unless you gain control. Sounds like this. What if I make the wrong choice? What if they leave? What if I miss the sign? What if I trust the wrong person? What if something bad happens because I ignored this feeling? Fear rarely gives you one clear message. It gives you 100 scenarios. Then it asks you to solve all of them at once. Intuition tends to be simpler, may be uncomfortable, may warn you, may ask you to slow down, but it often arrives as one clear impression. Do not rush. Do not share that information yet. Call this person. Take another look. Wait before deciding. Something here needs more attention. Does not always explain why. It does not usually create a long argument. Speaks. Then it becomes quiet. This does not mean intuition always feels peaceful. A warning can create discomfort. But there is often a difference between discomfort and panic. Intuition creates awareness. Fear creates chaos. Intuition says, pay attention. Fear says, everything is dangerous. Intuition says, move carefully. Fear says, do something immediately or you will regret it forever. Intuition gives direction. Fear demands certainty. And life rarely offers certainty. This is one reason anxious people struggle with decision-making. They are not always searching for the best choice. They are searching for a choice that guarantees no pain. But no decision can promise that. You can make a wise choice and still experience difficulty. You can trust someone honest and still feel vulnerable. You can follow a meaningful path and still face uncertainty. Fear interprets uncertainty as danger. Intuition can exist alongside uncertainty. It does not always say, this will work perfectly. Sometimes it says, This is the honest next step. That is enough. Another difference appears in the body. Fear often creates a full nervous system reaction. Racing thoughts, shallow breathing, tension, restlessness, a need to escape, an inability to focus on anything else. Your body behaves as though the threat is already happening. Intuition may create a physical signal too. Tight stomach, sudden pause, a sensation of heaviness. But the signal is often more focused. It does not necessarily take over your entire system. Gets your attention. Then it waits. Imagine receiving a message from someone who once hurt you. Fear may immediately create a story. They are going to manipulate me again. They are trying to destroy my peace. Something bad is about to happen. I must answer now. Or I must block them immediately. Intuition may say something quieter. Do not respond today. Read the message again when you are calm. Protect your boundaries. Notice the difference. Fear pushes you toward reaction. Intuition creates space for response. This is why waiting can be one of the most powerful tests. When a feeling arrives, do not always act immediately. Give it time. Breathe. Bleep. Wait. Talk to someone trustworthy. Then ask whether the feeling remains. Fear often changes form, becomes louder, then attaches itself to a different problem. Intuition tends to remain consistent, may become clearer, but it does not need constant emotional fuel. Suppose you feel that a new opportunity is wrong for you. In the first hour, the feeling is strong. Instead of rejecting the opportunity immediately, you gather information. You ask questions. You review the details. You imagine saying yes and no. After a few days, the same quiet discomfort remains. That consistency deserves attention. Now imagine that the feeling changes every hour. One moment you are excited. The next you are terrified. Then convinced it is destiny. Then certain it will ruin your life. That emotional instability may reveal anxiety rather than guidance. Another important test is the relationship between the feeling and your personal history. Your past shapes your perception. If you experienced betrayal, you may feel suspicious when someone becomes distant. If you grew up around criticism, you may interpret neutral feedback as rejection. If love was inconsistent, you may feel intense attraction toward emotionally unavailable people. If you had to earn attention, you may mistake uncertainty for chemistry. These patterns can feel deeply intuitive because they are familiar. But familiarity is not always truth. Sometimes what feels destined is simply recognizable. Your nervous system says, "I know this feeling." Then your mind interprets that recognition as connection. This is why people can feel magnetically drawn to relationships that repeat old wounds. The person feels familiar. The emotional pattern feels familiar. The longing feels familiar. And because the intensity is strong, they call it spiritual. Soul connection. Sign. A destined relationship. But a connection can feel powerful and still be unhealthy. Intensity does not equal compatibility. Chemistry does not equal safety. Familiarity does not equal destiny. And longing does not equal love. Ask yourself, does this connection help me become more grounded? Or more confused? Do I feel free to be myself? Or constantly afraid of losing the person? Does the relationship create mutual respect? Or emotional dependence? Do their actions match their words? Or am I using spiritual explanations to excuse inconsistency? These questions may feel less exciting than searching for signs. But they protect you. Real discernment includes behavior. A person's actions matter more than the number you saw after thinking about them. Consistency matters more than coincidence. Respect matters more than chemistry. Emotional safety matters more than spiritual intensity. The same applies to decisions. You may ask for a sign and then notice a song, a number, a phrase, or a symbol. That experience may feel meaningful. But signs should not replace judgment. If a relationship is dishonest, a repeated number does not make it healthy. If an opportunity violates your values, a coincidence does not make it right. If someone repeatedly ignores your boundaries, spiritual language does not change their behavior. Meaning can guide reflection. It should not cancel reality. There is another clue that helps distinguish intuition from fear. Intuition usually respects your dignity. Fear attacks it. Fear says, "You cannot handle this. You will be abandoned. You are running out of time. No one else will love you. This is your only chance. You must prove yourself." Intuition may challenge you, but it does not humiliate you. May say, "This is not aligned. You need a boundary. Tell the truth. Look away. Rest. Ask for help." Points toward self-respect. Even when the action is difficult, fear often makes you smaller. Intuition may ask you to become braver. Suppose you are considering ending a relationship. Fear may say, "Leave immediately before they leave you." Or, "Stay forever because you will never find anyone else." Fear can argue both sides. Its goal is not truth. Its goal is avoiding emotional pain. Intuition may say, "This relationship needs an honest conversation." Or, "You already know the pattern is not changing." Notice how different that feels. One creates extremes. The other reveals the next honest step. Intuition is often practical. It does not always arrive with mystical language. Sometimes it sounds like common sense you have been avoiding. You are exhausted. You need rest. You do not trust this person yet. You need more information. You have been giving too much. You are avoiding an important conversation. You already know this situation is not healthy. People sometimes search for dramatic signs because they do not want to face simple truths. They ask the universe whether a relationship is right while ignoring months of disrespect. They search dreams for answers while refusing to have a conversation. They ask for confirmation while repeatedly crossing their own boundaries. The sign may not be hidden. The pattern may already be clear. Discernment is the willingness to see what is happening without decorating it. That can be painful, but it is also freeing. Another way to test intuition is to ask whether it survives calm. When you regulate your nervous system, what remains? Take a few slow breaths. Relax your shoulders. Step away from your phone. Stop repeating the story. Then return to the feeling. Does it still feel true? Or did it lose intensity when your body calmed down? This does not mean a feeling is false if it becomes quieter. It means you are removing emotional noise. Often the message becomes more precise. You thought the message was, "My partner is leaving me." After calming down, you realize it is, "I feel disconnected and we need to talk." You thought the message was, "This job will destroy my life." After regulating, you recognize, "This environment is exhausting me, and I need a plan." You thought the message was, "This person is dangerous." After pausing, the clearer truth becomes, "I do not know them well enough to trust them." Emotional regulation refines language, transforms catastrophe into information. This is one of the most valuable skills an intuitive person can develop. Because the clearer your inner state, the less likely you are to misinterpret what you feel. You should also examine whether your impression is asking you to control someone else. Fear often wants control. It wants reassurance, immediate answers, access to another person's thoughts, certainty about their intentions. You may feel compelled to check their phone, demand explanations, send repeated messages, search for signs, interpret every silence. This may feel like intuition, but it is often attachment anxiety trying to reduce uncertainty. Intuition does not require invasion. It may tell you something feels wrong, but it still respects boundaries. Tells you to observe behavior, ask a direct question, protect yourself, or step back. It does not need you to become a detective in order to survive. Healthy discernment also allows for the possibility of being wrong. This is crucial. A person who cannot question their interpretation is not practicing discernment. They are practicing certainty. And certainty can become dangerous when it is attached to spiritual beliefs. You can say, "I have a strong feeling, but I may not understand it correctly." That sentence does not weaken your intuition. Shows maturity, keeps you open. It protects your relationships. It prevents you from using inner impressions as weapons. Sometimes you may sense something accurately but misinterpret the meaning. You correctly notice distance in a relationship, but assume betrayal. The real issue is grief. You correctly sense tension at work, but assume it is about you. The tension is connected to an organizational problem. You correctly feel that a friend is struggling, but assume they are angry. They are overwhelmed. The signal was real. The story was wrong. This happens often. That is why curiosity is safer than accusation. Observe. Listen. Let reality provide more information. You do not need to solve everything immediately. There is wisdom in uncertainty. You can say, "Something feels different, and I am still understanding what it means." That is honest. There is another test. Does the impression align with your values? Suppose you feel guided to manipulate someone, violate a boundary, or behave dishonestly. That guidance deserves serious examination. A meaningful inner direction should not require you to abandon integrity, should not encourage cruelty, revenge, control, or superiority. If a spiritual interpretation makes you less compassionate, less honest, or less respectful, it may not be wisdom. Even a necessary boundary can be established without dehumanizing another person. Even when you leave, you do not need to become cruel. Even when you recognize manipulation, you do not need to become obsessed with punishment. Discernment protects, does not need to destroy. You can also use a simple 4-question process when an intense feeling appears. First, what happened immediately before I felt this? Second, what does this feeling remind me of? Third, what facts do I currently have? Fourth, what is the least dramatic responsible action I can take? That final question is powerful. The least dramatic responsible action. Perhaps you do not need to end the relationship tonight. You need to ask one honest question. Perhaps you do not need to cancel the entire plan. You need to verify one detail. Perhaps you do not need to warn everyone. You need to pause and observe. Perhaps you do not need to interpret the dream. You need to write it down. This protects you from impulsiveness. It allows information to develop. Intuition does not become more valid because you react dramatically. Often, the wisest response is quiet. You should also notice whether the feeling expands or contracts your awareness. Fear narrows your focus. You become obsessed with one possibility. You stop considering alternatives. You only search for evidence that confirms your belief. This is called confirmation bias. Once you decide someone is dishonest, every action becomes proof. If they speak, they are manipulating. If they remain quiet, they are hiding something. If they are kind, they are pretending. If they set a boundary, they are rejecting you. There is no way for reality to challenge the story. That is not discernment. Discernment remains flexible enough to update. It says, "This is my current impression, but I will continue observing." It does not force every detail into one conclusion. A grounded person asks, "What else could this mean? Is there a simpler explanation? What information am I missing? What would convince me that my interpretation is wrong?" These questions keep you connected to reality. They do not remove spiritual meaning. They protect it from distortion. There is also a difference between intuition and wishful thinking. Wishful thinking tells you what you want to hear. It says the unavailable person is secretly in love with you. The opportunity will succeed without preparation. The relationship is meant to be, even though the other person refuses commitment. You do not need boundaries because everything will work out. Wishful thinking often ignores evidence. turns hope into certainty. Intuition may offer hope, but it does not require denial. Can acknowledge possibility while respecting reality. For example, I feel this relationship has potential, but both people must choose it. I believe this opportunity could grow, but I still need a plan. I feel called toward this path, but I must develop the skills. Healthy intuition does not remove responsibility. It increases it. There is another form of confusion. Sometimes fear disguises itself as spiritual protection. You avoid every new experience, every relationship, every uncertain path. Then tell yourself that your intuition is protecting you. But protection can become a prison. If every unfamiliar situation feels wrong, the issue may not be intuition, may be fear of vulnerability. Growth often feels uncomfortable. A new relationship can create uncertainty. A meaningful opportunity can activate self-doubt. Setting a boundary can create guilt. Leaving a familiar situation can create fear. Discomfort alone does not mean stop. Sometimes it means you are moving beyond an old identity. So ask, does this situation violate my values? Or does it simply challenge my comfort? Does it feel unsafe or unfamiliar? Am I being warned? Or am I afraid of growing? This is one of the hardest distinctions, because both can create fear. But growth usually contains a deeper sense of alignment. You may feel nervous, yet something in you knows the step is honest. You may feel afraid to speak, yet silence feels more damaging. You may feel uncertain about leaving, yet staying requires you to keep betraying yourself. Intuition often leads toward integrity, even when the path is difficult. Fear often leads toward avoidance, even when avoidance creates long-term pain. You can strengthen discernment through daily practices, not dramatic rituals. Simple awareness. Sleep enough. Exhaustion makes emotional signals harder to interpret. Reduce constant stimulation. A crowded mind struggles to hear subtle information. Journal honestly. Writing separates feelings from facts. Spend time in silence. Not to force messages. To observe what is already present. Take care of your body. Hunger, dehydration, hormonal changes, and stress can affect perception. Seek feedback from grounded people. Not people who confirm every fear. People who can listen without dismissing you. And when needed, speak with a qualified mental health professional. Psychological support does not weaken spiritual awareness. It can help clear the wounds that distort it. The healthier you become, the clearer your perception may become. You learn the language of your own nervous system. You recognize panic, abandonment fear, projection, emotional flooding. Then, when a quieter and more consistent signal appears, you can notice the difference. Discernment grows through self-knowledge, not through trying to become more mysterious. The goal is not to feel spiritually impressive. The goal is to live wisely, to choose relationships with greater awareness, to make decisions that honor your values, to recognize danger without seeing danger everywhere, to listen to your inner world without becoming controlled by it, to remain open to mystery without abandoning reason. This balance is not always easy, but it is possible. You do not have to choose between psychology and spirituality. You can understand your nervous system and still honor meaningful experiences. You can examine evidence and still pray. You can question an impression without rejecting it. You can remain open without becoming gullible. You can be intuitive and grounded, sensitive and strong, spiritual and practical. Those qualities belong together. If you have ever confused anxiety with intuition, share what helped you recognize the difference. Did the feeling become clearer after you calmed down? Did you discover it was connected to an old wound? Or did the same quiet message remain even after fear passed? Your experience may help someone else stop reacting to every intense emotion as though it were a warning. And subscribe to the channel if you want more content that helps you understand the connection between emotional patterns, relationships, intuition, and spiritual awareness. Because the next chapter asks an uncomfortable but necessary question. What happens when someone becomes so convinced of their spiritual sensitivity that they stop questioning themselves? A gift without humility can become ego. Sensitivity without boundaries can become control. And intuition without responsibility can damage the very people it was meant to help. Chapter 7. The responsibility of being highly perceptive. Being highly perceptive does not automatically make someone wise. It does not make every impression correct. It does not make every dream prophetic. It does not make every emotional reaction meaningful. And it does not give anyone authority over another person's life. This is where spiritual sensitivity must mature. Because the more someone believes they can sense what others cannot, the easier it becomes for ego to enter the picture. At first, the person may simply notice patterns, feel atmospheres, have vivid dreams, or recognize what others are feeling. But over time, they may begin trusting every impression without question. They stop examining themselves. They stop listening to feedback. They assume that because they were right before, they must be right now. That is where perception can become dangerous. A gift without humility can become arrogance. Sensitivity without boundaries can become intrusion. Intuition without self-awareness can become projection. And spiritual confidence without accountability can become control. This does not mean you should distrust every inner signal. It means you should respect the power of interpretation. What you sense may be real, but what you conclude from it may still be incomplete. Imagine feeling that someone is emotionally distant. That perception may be accurate, but the reason could be very different from what you assume. You may think they are rejecting you. They may be grieving. You may believe they are hiding something. They may be overwhelmed. You may think their silence means anger. They may be exhausted. The signal may be right. The story may be wrong. This is why mature perception always leaves room for more information. It says, something feels different. Not, I know exactly what this means. That difference protects relationships. It also protects you from becoming trapped inside your own certainty. Some people use spiritual language to avoid accountability. They say, I know what I felt. God showed me. My intuition is never wrong. I can read people. These statements can sound confident, but they may also close the door to honest reflection. No human being is free from bias. No one perceives reality perfectly. Your fears influence you. Your hopes influence you. Your past influences you. Your emotional needs influence you. Even your strongest spiritual beliefs pass through a human mind. A mind shaped by experience, memory, attachment, pain, desire, and expectation. This is not an insult to spirituality. It is a reason for humility. Perhaps you have sensed something correctly many times. That still does not mean every future impression is accurate. Perhaps you have vivid dreams that later seem meaningful. That does not mean every dream should guide your decisions. Perhaps you are emotionally sensitive. That does not mean you always understand what other people feel better than they do. A mature person can hold two truths at once. I trust my perception. I may still be mistaken. That combination is powerful. It allows confidence without rigidity, openness without gullibility, spiritual awareness without superiority. One of the clearest signs that ego has attached itself to intuition is the need to prove it. The person wants others to know they predicted something. They want recognition. They repeat, I knew it. I warned you. I could feel this from the beginning. Sometimes this is understandable, especially if people dismissed them in the past. Being repeatedly told that you are too sensitive can create a strong desire to prove that your instincts were valid. But eventually, the need to be right becomes more important than the relationship itself. You may secretly wait for someone's mistake so your warning can be confirmed. You may feel satisfaction when a situation goes wrong because it proves you were correct. You may use another person's pain as evidence of your perception. That is not compassion. That is unresolved hurt seeking validation. The healthiest response to being right is not, "See, I told you." It is, "How can I support you now?" The purpose of discernment is not victory. It is wisdom. Sometimes you sense that a friend's relationship is unhealthy. You express concern. They choose to stay. Months later, the relationship ends painfully. Even with good intentions. You are not meant to replace another person's judgment. The goal is not for people to need you forever. The goal is for them to understand themselves more clearly. This applies to your own life as well. Do not outsource every decision to signs, numbers, dreams, cards, messages, or other people's spiritual opinions. These things may offer perspective, but your life also requires thought, experience, values, evidence, and responsibility. You must still choose. A sign cannot sign the contract for you. A dream cannot create the boundary. A coincidence cannot have the difficult conversation. Insight is only the beginning. Action gives it meaning. Responsibility also means knowing when a situation requires professional support. Sensitivity is not a replacement for expertise. You may sense that someone is emotionally unwell. That does not make you their therapist. You may believe someone needs healing. That does not make you their doctor. You may feel concerned about a legal, financial, or medical issue. That does not mean intuition should replace qualified advice. This is one of the most important boundaries. Spiritual support can exist alongside professional care. Prayer can exist alongside treatment. Compassion can exist alongside expertise. There is no wisdom in pretending to know what you do not know. A responsible person says, "I care about you, but this is beyond what I can help with alone." That is not failure. That is maturity. Sometimes love means helping someone find the right support, not trying to become everything they need. Another sign of maturity is the ability to admit mistakes. Perhaps you felt certain about someone and later discovered you were wrong. Perhaps you misinterpreted a dream. Perhaps fear influenced your perception. Perhaps you accused someone unfairly. What do you do then? You acknowledge it. You apologize. You learn. You do not rewrite the story to protect your identity. You do not say, "My intuition was still right in a different way." You do not force a hidden meaning simply to avoid being wrong. You say, "I misread the situation." That sentence may feel difficult, but it builds credibility. A person who can never admit error becomes dangerous, especially when they believe their impressions come from a higher source. Humility is not doubting everything. It is remembering that you are human. Your perception may be valuable, but it is not infallible. In fact, the willingness to admit error often makes discernment stronger. You begin recognizing where you are most vulnerable to distortion. Perhaps you misread situations when you feel rejected. Perhaps you become less accurate when you are exhausted. Perhaps romantic attraction makes you ignore evidence. Perhaps fear makes every signal feel urgent. Perhaps you become overconfident when people admire your sensitivity. These patterns are not shameful. They are information. Knowing them helps you become more trustworthy. There is also a relationship between intuition and emotional regulation. A dysregulated person may experience every sensation as important, every change as danger, every dream as a warning, every coincidence as a message. The mind becomes overwhelmed by meaning. Nothing feels ordinary anymore. This can create anxiety, confusion, and detachment from reality. Grounding is essential. You need ordinary life, sleep, food, movement, laughter, relationships, work, nature, silence, practical responsibilities. Spiritual awareness should deepen your connection to life. not pull you away from it. If your beliefs make you afraid to leave the house, trust anyone, or make decisions without constant signs, something is out of balance. The purpose of discernment is freedom, not obsession. You are allowed to live without interpreting everything. You are allowed to enjoy a song without assuming it contains a message. You are allowed to notice a number without building a prediction around it. You are allowed to have a strange dream and let it go. Not every experience needs a spiritual explanation. Ordinary life is not less meaningful. Sometimes the most sacred thing is simply being present. Drinking coffee, calling a friend, taking a walk, resting, listening, caring for your body, answering the truth that is already clear. Highly perceptive people can become so focused on hidden meaning that they miss the visible reality. They search for symbols while ignoring behavior. They ask what the universe is saying while avoiding what another person has said directly. They look for confirmation in dreams while refusing to accept clear patterns. But often the most important message is not hidden. It is in the repeated disrespect, the consistent exhaustion, the broken promise, the unexplained peace, the way your body relaxes when you finally say no, the way your life becomes clearer when you stop forcing something. Reality itself contains information. Discernment is not only seeing what others cannot see. It is having the courage to accept what is already visible. The greatest sign of maturity is not how many things you sense. It is the character you develop. Are you becoming kinder, more honest, more grounded, more patient, more capable of listening, more respectful of boundaries? Can you speak truth without cruelty? Can you remain silent without resentment? Can you help without controlling? Can you admit when you are wrong? Can you trust your perception without making it your entire identity? These are deeper questions than, am I gifted? Because gifts do not automatically create wisdom. Practice does. Humility does. Healing does. Self-reflection does. Responsibility does. You may be highly perceptive. You may have experiences that are difficult to explain. But the true measure of those experiences is not how unusual they are. It is what they produce in your life. Do they lead to compassion, clarity, integrity, better decisions, healthier relationships, greater self-awareness? Or do they produce fear, superiority, control, confusion, isolation? The result matters. A tree is recognized by its fruit. And your inner life should be evaluated by the kind of person it is helping you become. Perhaps the real purpose of intuition is not to make you feel different. Perhaps it is to make you more attentive, more responsible, more awake to the impact of your choices, more sensitive to the pain of others, more willing to tell the truth, and more courageous about honoring your own boundaries. That kind of perception has value, not because it predicts everything, but because it helps you live with greater integrity. Before the final conclusion, continue with our personal growth and spiritual development playlist. That playlist explores emotional healing, relationships, intuition, self-worth, life transitions, and the deeper patterns shaping your decisions. One video can give you insight, but real transformation happens when you begin connecting those insights. When you see how your intuition relates to your nervous system, how your boundaries relate to your self-worth, how your relationship patterns connect to your past, and how spiritual awareness can support a more honest and grounded life. Open the playlist after this video and choose the message that speaks most directly to what you are living right now. And subscribe before you continue. Your subscription helps this channel reach more people who are trying to understand experiences they have spent years dismissing, fearing, or misinterpreting. The final conclusion will bring all 5 signs together. But more importantly, it will reveal the question that matters more than whether you are a seer. Not, what can I perceive? Who am I becoming because of what I perceive? Before the final conclusion, continue with our personal growth and spiritual development playlist. Each video will help you better understand your intuition, emotional patterns, relationships, boundaries, self-worth, and spiritual sensitivity. One video may answer a question, but the full journey helps you recognize the deeper pattern behind what you are experiencing. When this video ends, open the playlist and choose the message that speaks most directly to your life right now. And subscribe to the channel so you do not miss the next video that may help you see your situation from a completely new perspective. Perhaps you recognized yourself in all 5 signs. The vivid mental images, the sensitivity to people and places, the unexplained knowing, the dreams that feel different from ordinary dreams, and the sudden urge to pray for, support, or reach out to someone. Or perhaps only one of these experiences felt familiar. Either way, do not rush to give yourself a label. You do not need to call yourself a seer, an empath, or anything else in order to honor what you experience. The label is not the most important part. The responsibility is. Your sensitivity may come from intuition, deep empathy, life experience, subconscious pattern recognition, spiritual awareness, or a combination of all of them. What matters most is what that sensitivity produces in your life. Does it make you more compassionate, more honest, more grounded, more aware of your boundaries, more willing to pay attention to what others overlook? Or does it make you more fearful, suspicious, and obsessed with signs? That distinction matters. Real discernment should help you understand your life more clearly, not make you afraid of it. Sometimes the greatest message is not about the future. It is about what is happening now. The relationship that keeps draining you, the truth you keep avoiding, the boundary you know you need, the person who may need encouragement, the emotional wound influencing your decisions, the part of yourself asking to be heard. Perhaps you have spent years believing that you could not trust yourself. Maybe you noticed the warning signs but ignored them. You sensed the distance but stayed silent. You felt exhausted but kept giving. You knew something was changing but continued pretending everything was fine. Not because you lacked intuition, because trusting yourself would have required a difficult decision. That is where real growth begins. Not when you receive the signal, but when you respond with wisdom. Sometimes that response will be a conversation, boundary, phone call, prayer, pause, an apology, or the courage to walk away from something that no longer feels honest. You do not need to react dramatically. You only need to become more attentive. Ask questions instead of making accusations. Observe patterns instead of chasing coincidences. Listen to your body without allowing fear to control you. Honor spiritual experiences without abandoning common sense. And remember that a strong feeling can deserve attention without automatically becoming fact. The deepest form of intuition is not knowing everything. It is knowing when to slow down, when to listen, when to speak, when to wait, when to protect yourself, and when to offer compassion. Perhaps your greatest gift is not predicting what will happen next. Perhaps it is seeing the present more clearly, seeing what needs healing, what needs honesty, what needs to end, what needs to begin, and who you are becoming through all of it. Before you leave, subscribe to the channel. Your subscription helps us continue creating content that brings psychology, spirituality, emotional healing, relationships, and personal growth together in a grounded and deeply human way. And in the comments, tell us, which of these 5 signs have you experienced most strongly? Your story may help someone else stop doubting what they have felt for years. Pay attention. Stay grounded. Protect your peace. Question your fear. Honor your compassion. And trust the quiet wisdom that remains when the noise finally disappears.